Welcome everyone. In this video I've got something different. I've got an old truck door here. It's from the 20s. I thought it was a Model T, but I'm not so sure anymore. Let me show you what I'm going to do. Now I'm sure a lot of people out there have seen it at car shows, swap meets. I've seen them in antique shows. They get an old truck door and they'll paint a logo on there like it could be a business, a towing company, a floral shop, a shoe repair place, whatever, and distress it so it looks like it's old and looks like it's original to the door. I've been keeping my eye out just for a door for the last several years. I run across a pair of these at a farm auction. I got them pretty cheap. I thought they were Model T because at the farm the guy had a Model T truck and a bunch of pallets of parts, but I didn't really match these doors up I bought to the doors around the truck. I just assumed because he had a lot of Model T parts, but I'm not so sure with these two ribs in here. But anyway, this is a wooden frame door. I'm going to have something painted on here for myself that I'm going to keep. The other one I've got finished already. I've got that one for sale. And actually this one here still has the latch in it. It's got the glass in it. It's got a trim panel and it's got the run channels in there. I've never messed with anything like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to get the door gutted because it's heavy. It's got to be about 50 pounds, but I'm going to gut it so it's a little bit lighter. Let's see what it takes to tear one of these apart. Well, they actually used a brass screw. These window regulators haven't changed much over the years. Still got the gear here that runs off the handle, got the spring in there, you got the slide. I think I'll have to take this whole panel off of here, slide that guide out of the end of this track. Most of the threads are just rusted right off. There's a couple screws that holds the outside handle on. Let me take those out. Now this whole thing should lift out of here. And then slide it off the glass. Okay, next up, get this glass out of here. It's actually got wooden trim all the way around here. I'm going to take these 3 screws out, take this piece of trim out of here, and this run channel. I can slide the glass up, should be able to lift it out of here, remove it. There's little steel nails that hold this in. There's actually a piece of wood right through the center here. And the back of this window channel is hanging up on it because it's all rusted and it's kind of spread apart. Just like that. So looking at this compared to a new car, you know, we got our intrusion beams here. It's got the run channel. It's got trim around here. And here's what's kind of interesting. It's even got drain holes in the door. There's 3 of them on the bottom there. So I'm guessing this is probably built out of oak. The bottom is rotted because the water would collect in there, and it might have been off the car for quite a few years, sitting in a barn on a dirt floor. What's interesting on this is the way the door skins are put on. It's still got a rolled flange, just like on a modern car. The inner part on this door is a piece of Z-channel, and that's actually nailed into the wood, and then the skin just rolls on that. And that's actually a 2-piece door skin. Here's the seam right there. These are glass stops here. Piece of wood, and it's got some type of a rubber on top of it. Now the hinge side of the door skin, that's got nails in it. There is no rolled over flange there. It nails across the front edge, the top, and also on the bottom. You know, there's a lot of deep rust pits in here, but this metal is still pretty solid, and the bottom is rusted pretty good, but for 100 years old, that's not bad. Okay, I'm going to drop this off at my buddy's house. Let him do his thing on it. When I get it back, we'll pick it up from there. Okay, I've got my door back. This is what I had done with it. Pleasant Valley Farm. That's our farm here in Northwest Indiana. What I had him do on this one is when he mixed up his paint to thin it out so it's fairly transparent right off the bat. Now this door has a fair amount of rust on it, and you can run into problems when you're distressing this paint when you go from the original paint to this rust. And you can use lacquer thinner to wipe some of this off. If it's actually a clean panel, you could take a buffer and compound it, and you could keep buffing on it until you get that paint pretty thin. Let me show you the first door I had done, and I'll explain what happened with that one and how this one I'm going to do different. When my friend lettered this one, he had the door mounted vertical like this when he painted it, and then he took some lacquer thinner to try and dissolve some of this paint. What happens, that paint dissolves and it gets right into the pores of all this rust. And it was kind of tough to get it out of there. So I took a little bit of lacquer thinner and a toothbrush and tried scrubbing in here and then cleaning it up with a rag. That didn't do a bad job, but it didn't get all the paint. Let me show you how I'm going to do the other one, and I'll explain what I had to do with these rust areas. Okay, to start with, I'm just going to take some lacquer thinner on a rag, and I'm going to go over in this area here where I don't have to deal with the rust. Yeah, it actually comes off real easy, and it'll wipe off the original factory paint. I just want to stay away from the rust. And I don't know if this is the correct way to do it. I don't know how everybody else does these. And you can tell that's old lacquer paint from the factory because that lacquer thinner just takes it right off. But it does seem to work a little bit better if you focus right on the letters instead of going on the original paint. Okay, before I go any farther, I'm going to take a scuff pad over this and see what it does. Okay, actually I think the scuff pad is the way to go because it doesn't dissolve the blue and put it into the white. It doesn't take the white and put it into the rust. Now I'm going to try a piece of sandpaper. This is 320 grit. I think the scuff pad works better than the lacquer thinner. You can just keep going over it. You can see the scuff marks on the factory paint, but once I took that rag and went over it, kind of cleaned up this factory paint here. When I get done with it, then I'll show you my trick for sealing this. But for right now, let me show you what I did with the rust on the other one. And even this one here, just from the scuff pad, you can see it's almost like a different color rust from here to here. It's more of an orange looking, so I'll show you how I bring that color back. Okay, here's my secret weapon, Minwax wood finish. This is just a stain marker. What I did on the other door, I just went over to rust and followed the outline of the letters to keep it off of there. And that hid a lot of that paint that had washed down into there from the lacquer thinner. And even places where I just sanded on it and it turned it orange, it brought the color back. And I'll finish this rust up once I get the rest of the door done. You should be able to see how it changes the color. It brings it back to a nice dark brown as opposed to this orange. So let me continue on with the rest of this door. I think that's as far as I'm going to sand this down. Like I said, where you got paint over the rust, that's a little bit trickier. And here it kind of made it look a little bit orange. And one thing I did notice, I could see these tape marks on here where the pattern was laid out to paint. And I couldn't figure out why it changed the color. Well, looking at it now close, this door was repainted at one time, and the tape actually took off the top layer of paint. That seems to be a warranty issue there. Whatever painter did this probably didn't scuff it properly. I'm going to show you my final step in doing this, and it may take care of these marks from the tape. Let's see what happens. Okay, Mop and Glow. This is just a floor cleaner or wax. I'm going to brush a coat over it, rust and everything. This will fill in somewhat some of these pores in the rust. Dust doesn't seem to stick to it as much. It may clean this stuff up, maybe make these lines disappear. I use it on antiques, wood and stuff. It soaks into wood, it puts a little bit of a sheen to it, and like I said, it'll keep dust and lint from sticking in there so bad. So I'm just going to pour some in a cup, take a brush, and put a nice coat over here. It'll look white, and when it dries, it's clear. I let that wax dry overnight. It actually looks pretty nice. It puts a little bit of a sheen to the paint. You can still see the tape marks, but you know, that's part of it. It's a 100-year-old door. I'm satisfied with it. I'm going to put the handle and the hinges back on it. Okay, I've got that door done. There's a shot of both of them together. I'm happy with the way it turned out. And what's interesting, these old hinges, they all still work. Steel hinge, steel pin. Okay, it's done. It was kind of a fun little project to do. Never did anything like that before. Luckily, I got a friend who's a painter. So yeah, this was kind of a different video. I hope you liked it. If you did, leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of it. Thanks for watching.